that should be understood and should be acknowledged. I do believe that there should be some sort of incentive program for finding employment for veterans. I know when I go through the hiring process for my own company, if I see that someone's a veteran, I tend to let that be a positive thing that I look at, and that is a pro on when I'm weighing out the potential candidates for my employment. And I think there should be some sort of incentive program for employers when they do hire a veteran that it's their benefit for.
Hi, Mr. Jones. I live in your district, by the way.
Oh.
You said Green Valley, right?
Green Valley, yes.
Okay. Will you vote your conscience, or will you vote the will of the people in your district?
That's a hard question to answer because it's a very broad, general question. I would look at the specific issue, and depending on how I felt in that given issue, that would obviously weigh heavily in my decision-making process. However, I can't negate the fact that I am there representing the people of my district or of my constituents, and I have to take both into account. And so to be able to answer your question, I would have to be given a specific issue and be able to see what that is instead of just a generalized blanket statement. But I would look at both of the different options that you said, and I would weigh those based on that specific issue. Hopefully that answers your question in some way.
Good day, Mr. Jones. Jameson Aher. Saying that you and your father have obviously built a great brand in a very competitive market.
Thank you.
What type of programs will you create if elected for veterans to follow that same entrepreneurial spirit?
There's different ways. Obviously, we can get into grants and different things like that, but I would really like to see what has been proposed in the past. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have those facts and figures and different things in front of me right now or on top of my head, but I would love to see what has been proposed in the past, see how workable those things would be, and then be able to get behind one of those, or if I had a better idea of how to implement one of those proposed ways, make the changes that I see that could make it easier from my personal experience with being in the field of being an entrepreneur, and do what I can to make it easier and better, and so that we can all grow as an economy and particularly veterans.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Steelman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jones. Thank you for being here today. My name is Karen Stillman. I'm the Auxiliary Director with Veterans in Politics International. And I'm going to kind of piggyback off on a couple of other questions that had already been asked you. I'm going to kind of allow you a minute to elaborate.
Sure.
You mentioned once that, several times actually, that you would vote according to what your constituents wanted. But I would like your take on the Constitution. What if your constituents want you to vote in a way that opposes the Constitution? How would you deal with that kind of situation?
Absolutely not. I mean, the Constitution is there for a reason, to give us and allow us the ability to, as a state and even on a more general as a nation, succeed. And I do not believe that we should go and changing things just because there's a new fad or a new idea that maybe this might work. So I do strongly believe in the Constitution, and I believe that we should leave it as it is. And it's worked for us for a very long time, and we should continue to allow it to work for us moving forward.
So could I safely assume that if your constituents wanted you to vote for more gun control or abolishing the Second Amendment, you would vote no against your constituents?
I would vote no on that, and that gets into the question that was asked before. I would have to look at that specific issue. And in that specific issue, if all my constituents said, if it was 100%, I still, unfortunately, on that issue would say no. I feel that the Second Amendment is a very needed thing for our society, and it's the only way we can keep ourselves safe from different threats.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're doing pretty well on time, so let's bring it back around to the beginning again. Ms. Libby, back to you.
Thank you. I just have to come up with another question. Well, first of all, I would like to ask how old you are.
I'm 28.
28?
I'll be 29 next
like
month.
A lot younger than that. Secondly,
well, it's the good real water.
It's the good real. Yeah, thanks, Karen. I'm just old. Thank you for the water. I live in your dad's district, actually. And my question is, should your dad be reelected and you are reelected and you're sitting in the assembly with him, are you going to look to him for guidance? Do you agree with him on all the issues? If there's a close vote and your dad votes one way, would you feel comfortable voting the other?
I've had a couple different people and different viewpoints on my father being in politics as well. And I view it as a complete benefit because not only do I have someone that I can get guidance from, but I have somebody that I can trust. We all need mentors. We all need people that have experience to be able to help us guide through certain pitfalls and everything in life and in politics and in everything. And I feel like I have someone in my father that I can trust. I've known him all my life, obviously. And
you look just like him.
Yeah. And, I feel like I have a benefit in that because I can trust him. But we do have, I think, a relationship where we have a mutual respect for each other. And if it did come down to it, where I believe strongly enough against what he believed, I would feel comfortable voting the opposite way of him. However, with that, I would say that I do share very similar views in the way he does. And, that's part of what we're trying to do, and not only with the relationship between me and him, but with our majority project and having a number of candidates throughout the Nevada legislature, so we can try and regain control and actually help the Nevada with doing things that have the beliefs of I feel a lot of people in the panel and us.
Okay, I'm a liberal Democrat, so I don't share those beliefs, but thank you, I appreciate it.
Hey, Blaine, this is Scott LaFata again. This question is actually from a college class at CSN that Fred teaches, and he asked his students to come up with some questions. This is a really important one for me, as I'm also with Conservatives for Energy Freedom. And their question is, will you promise to break Nevada Energy's monopoly?
Break, you said?
Yes, break Nevada Energy's monopoly. And if you need to ask a couple more questions on it, of what it means, then go ahead.
No, I feel like I have definitely enough understanding to answer that. Again, I go back to my strong belief in free market principles. And anytime you have a monopoly and you don't have any competition, there's going to be inefficiencies and higher prices for a worse service, goods or services. And I will do anything and everything that I can to bring free market principles into that area of our state and allow those free market principles to prove out and make things more efficient, get better goods and services for a lower price.
Thank you.
As someone with a similar view of your father, who stood up to all of the pressure to vote against the tax, what is your opinion on how are we going to fund the state government, given that there's so much discrepancy between who pays, who doesn't, and it's pretty much all bought and sold by lobbyists? How would you change the circumstance?
Well, first off, I would have to really start looking at the budget and where things are being spent. And one of the things that I think is very terrible, besides the largest tax increase in our state's history, is the inequality in it and the exemptions and the people that are exempt. I do not believe in that, and that's just crony capitalism to its core. And I think, first off, if there is to be anything, it needs to be equal. Everybody needs to pay their share, and it needs to be an equal share, if there is something. However, I do believe that in removing regulation, cutting through the inefficiencies of government-run programs and different things, we can find areas to cut and be able to balance that budget without a tax.
The 2015 legislature passed a bill requiring the Clark County School District to be broken up. How do you feel about that? And do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea?
I think it's a good idea. I think the Clark County School District is one of the largest school districts in our country. And when you have a large government-run organization like that, it's my belief that there are a lot of inefficiencies and a lot of bureaucrats, for lack of a better term, telling how things should be and not really knowing how it actually is down on the ground or down in that school or in that area. And I do believe that it should be broken up so it's more localized. It's better ran from people that have a better idea of specifically what's going on in that given area.
Tim Patora again. So here's my question for you. Your dad's in office, you're running for office. That's all great. Me and you align politically. But here's my thing. Given the anti-sentiment of dynasties in politics, how are you just not under the bush? I mean, how are voters supposed to look at you and say, well, obviously, his dad's in power, he's in power, and there's another family coming up the ranks?
Well, you can quickly answer that question by looking at my father's voting record and then looking at my voting record should I go into office. My father did not go as business as usual when he was up there. He didn't make a lot of friends when he was up there. A lot of people didn't like the way he voted, particularly on the taxes and some other issues. So that quickly answers that question because we're not a group of people that are going up there to take advantage of the people that we're serving. We're going up there to be a true representative of what the people want and need to be a better state and a better economy.
Thank you.
Robert Faust. Would you vote to defund Planned Parenthood?
I would. I would have to agree, yes, to that.
I'm not sure if you've seen in the news that several American corporations are threatening or are boycotting North Carolina, Mississippi for their laws they've written to basically block transgender people from using female bathrooms. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, that was something that came up in the last legislation even for our own state, that issue. I believe strongly in, I believe people should be allowed to do what they wish to do. However, when it comes into infringing upon the rights of others, there has to be a line that's drawn. And I don't believe that allowing somebody that for themselves believes that they're of a different gender to go into that different gender restroom facilities and infringe upon the rights of security and safety and just feeling like someone else that's going in there is in a safe place, which they should be when they go into a restroom. So I do not believe that someone that feels that they are of a different gender should be allowed to go in that different gender's bathroom.
Rowena Crickleton here. What is your opinion regarding healthcare in our state?
I think that the Silver State Exchange needs to be gotten rid of, and I think that it is a complete disaster. I think that we need to introduce more free market principles into that, and I do believe that in doing that we will get, again, a better service, goods and services for a lower price when you introduce free market principles.
Jameson Ayer again. Mr. Jones, what do you consider the most significant area of corruption in our state, and what would you be willing to do to address that for elected office?
Well, I can definitely point to a couple examples. One of the examples that I brought up before was the tax that passed in the last legislative session. The people that were exempt, gaming and mining, the two largest industries in our state. And if that's not crony capitalism and corruption, I don't know what is. And I strongly believe that we need to repeal that, and that needs to be gotten rid of. I also believe that even on a smaller level, my district, the incumbent, my opponent, Republican opponent in the primary, again, campaigned on not raising taxes, made a lot of promises, and then when he got up into office, not only was he just a member of the assembly body, but he was the chair of taxation and voted yes on the taxes. So I believe that we need to have people in office that have integrity, that are willing to live up to what they promise their constituents, live up to what they say to get someone's vote, and then when they're actually in office, do what they say they were going to do.
Ms. Stillman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jones. Karen again.
Hello.
I would like you to address, if you could, for a moment, the land rights issue in Nevada, specifically as it deals with the Bundy family issue, the range fees and all of that. And could you give us your take on land ownership, federal versus state versus public?
When you say public, did you mean private? Because you did list state and federal.
Well, no, because when the federal government assumes that it has ownership, we assume that means public, they assume that means federal ownership.
Well, there obviously has to be an understanding of when we say public land, who is owned by the state or the federal government. I think that what happened with the Bundys and their ranch and their cattle was a complete overstepping of the federal and state governments, and they were completely in the right. Okay, their cattle happen to wander on some public land, range, and feed. It's a complete overuse of the power of the federal government and the state government, and I believe that shouldn't have happened, and a great example of the inefficiency and complete crony capitalism and things that we need to get rid of in our government. And that's what I hope to achieve by going up there. And
well, in actuality, your answer is an illustration of what I was trying to point out.
Okay.
You said that the cattle wandered onto public land. If it's public land, then what's the trespass? If the Bundy family are a member of the public,
sure,
and the public is supposed to be able to use our land, then again, I would like you to illustrate your beliefs between federal ownership, state ownership, and public ownership. We're the public.
Okay, I understand. I understand what you're trying to ask.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, if it's public land, we are the public, obviously. We are the people that we make up the state in this country, and if it's public land, we should be able to use it because it's our land. I'm sorry for my misunderstanding of your question before, but no, I believe strongly that if it's public land, we should be able to use it because we are the public.
Okay, so now that we've established that,
Excuse me, we're getting a little bit into crosstalk here, so I'm going to bring this back around again.
I'm trying to clarify the understanding of what we're talking about.
One more.
Okay, so if the land is not owned privately by an individual, who should it be owned by? Public, us, state, or federal?
Us, the public.
Okay, thank you.
We are down to just about the wire here. I want to thank everyone for their participation today. Let's give a big hand for Mr. Jones for joining us today. My thanks to all the panel members. You'll shortly be going into executive session to discuss. My thanks to Steve Sanson, the president of Veterans in Politics International, for allowing me to moderate today. And my strong encouragement to everyone watching this: vote. Do not stay home. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Good to meet you.
Appreciate it.
And a big thank you to our moderator, Jordan Ross, Laughlin Constable. Great job, sir.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We met before. We were there. I was there when you were filing. We didn't formally introduce each other like that yet. Nice to meet
I'm just going by what you told me.
A very good conversation.
Good meaning good or good meaning bad?
Can I get all the panel members to the front of the room for a photograph, please? Veterans in Politics panel members to the front of the room for a photograph. Monty Levy, Tim Patara, Fred Conquest, Ron Bauer, Steve Sampson, Goofy.
Where are we doing it?
Fred Conquest, Rob Lauer, Tim Patara. Yeah, because you need to listen and get up here.
Wow. I'm not standing up to that escaping.
Are you serious?
I will look like a fat cow next to her. Go. You go next to
Fred
her.
Conquest,
Back, I'm tall.
Scott Lafada,
I'll send
Appreciate it.
Tim Pataro.
Oh, I can't hear you. You're so tiny.
You're tiny. What are you talking about?
All right, get Luke and
Brad Conquest.
All right. Rob, you got to stand in the back. Well, I'm going to hide in the back. Last time I was in the front.
Hey, Jordan, come on.
Yes, sir.
We got everybody? Okay. Everybody be like Jordan.
We can't be like Jordan.
No, it could be
He's
like
too
Jordan.
unique.
You got it?
All right, we done?
Anybody else with the camera?
We're cool.
I gotta go change.
Red stars in my eyes.
I'm going to a
Okay.
yeah.